Hey everyone, welcome to today's podcast with Nikki Cashbowl of Technology Business Research and me, Dave Smith of Inflow Analysis, and our great guest, Jonathan Rende, Senior Vice President of Product at PagerDuty. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jonathan, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Awesome. Now, Jonathan, I know you have a big and busy week this week with the PagerDuty Summit that's happening like literally right now. So thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me and Nikki today. I know in your keynote you're discussing some significant announcements, so can't wait to get into some of that with you today.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been a busy week, but I think that things are really going well so far.
Awesome. So Nikki, my friend, we were in like episode 20 or so, or into this podcast adventure, and
I think so, something like that. So
right?
it's been great. It kind of goes full circle back to a guest that we had from ServiceMax way at the beginning when we started. So to have Jonathan, who can speak to all of the important enhancements that incident response is occurring, especially in the technology realm, I think will kind of continue that dialogue. And having guests like yourself who can not only speak to the technology and the really cool things you're doing behind the scenes, but who work in these areas that resonate with the challenges everyone is facing and hears about in the news, also just is particularly impactful and makes the technology itself seem more real and important. And as an analyst who covers cloud, which pretty much touches every other aspect of digital transformation, I was impressed by the emphasis that PagerDuty places on the importance of open source, things like DevOps and automation. So definitely looking forward to hearing your thoughts on that. But first, Jonathan, can you give us a little bit of a background on yourself and your role at PagerDuty, as well as PagerDuty itself?
Sure. So I've been at PagerDuty going on 3.5 years now, and the company has evolved and grown a lot. We were a private company when I joined, and over a year ago, we went public. And what changed? Not a lot, except for the fact that now quarterly we have some cadences, I should say, that we didn't have before. The company has evolved quite a bit as a business, with our customers, most importantly, and also the platform and how we deliver value to them. So, I'm responsible for driving our product directions, our strategies, where we make our investments. And again, as you mentioned, this event for us is one of the biggest coming out parties for what's new in our platform that we've ever had.
Speaking of coming out parties, we were made aware this week that you guys had some important news kind of in the midst of your summit with the acquisition of Rundeck. Before we get into some kind of higher arching trends and things that you're seeing, could you speak a little bit to the reasoning behind the acquisition, what Rundeck does, and how it'll enhance what PagerDuty does in incident response?
Absolutely. So one of the things that PagerDuty has always been known for is orchestrating, automating people, engaging people, bringing them into the issues that matter in the moments that matter. That's what we do. That's what we do better than anyone else. And although we've taken some small steps in the world of machine automation, not just people orchestration and automation, but machine automation, we really felt that given what we do for customers and the value that they get, that there are a couple of adjacencies, additions that are so important that although we have partnerships in this area with other vendors and we want to maintain those partnerships, that it was really important as a strategic core part of PagerDuty to add an automation, a Rundeck automation partner. It's such a close complementary, complement to what we do today. Rundeck, Runbook automation is a really critical piece. If you think of the whole, the entire incident response life cycle, so to speak, there's the identification of where problems are, there's the prevention of those problems, there's the engagement of individuals, there's the diagnostics, there's the resolution, and then there's the learning from that. And so that's the entire life cycle. And what Rundeck allows us to do is automate 3 really important steps from that. The part of the prevention piece up front, which is exciting, not having to interrupt teams, and being able to, with some other capabilities we have in the platform, pause issues and maybe address them before you have to engage somebody, which is always great, but also automate the diagnostics and the resolution at the machine level, which is important. So we've always been working, towards delivering context to these teams that get pulled in the moment, these DevOps teams. But the ability to now automate runbooks and automate all of the machine activities as a part of that, that's really the full cycle. And we're incredibly excited about that. And more importantly, the customers and partners that we've spoken to, they're excited about that too.
That's very interesting, and the automation piece is so critical. And it leads me to, kind of asking about, from a platform perspective, especially now with incidents, what does that mean now for teams now with this acquisition?
Well, what it means, Dave, is they're going to be able to take more action. They're going to be more empowered across their organizations to fix and triage faster. And that's, in these times where what would have been or could have been in the past casual services and applications that organizations, that people, that businesses in both our private and our professional lives use, those aren't just casual anymore. Those are mission critical. Those are we depend on them for our lives. So at the end of the day, this level of automation, it's going to minimize any outages. It's going to help standardize for those teams how they go about fixing, and most importantly, empower those responders so that they can do more on the front lines. And that's another piece that really, excited us about Rundeck, is we've always had the philosophy to empower. We talk about full service ownership of what what responders do, and why that's so important, that, this philosophy of you build it, you ship it, you own it. And with the addition of Rundeck, we're really empowering those frontline workers so that they can do what they need to do, and not just come in and have to, be pulled into a major issue and still have a level of manual work and toil in order to get to the, the root of what a problem is. But now we can start to automate and standardize some of those steps for them, which I think will be very much welcomed.
Yeah. Now, was impetus for this, sort of like in the past several months during the pandemic, because I could imagine the acceleration of, the need for automation was critical.
Well, this started long, before that. We've been working with Rundeck for a number of years. We've known, this is an important part. And one of the interesting things, they've always had a focus, not only in their open source community, but in their, in the majority of the customers that use Rundeck today, it's both an IT ops as well as a developer audience. But all of those individuals refer to themselves as DevOps for an important reason, because Rundeck very much has the philosophy of self-service automation, like empowering, making automation ubiquitous, just like we are doing on our side. So it was a great match. And to your question of did the pandemic accelerate this? I think it's accelerated a lot of things. We were already working with them. We built our integration back at the beginning of the year, and customers started using it. I think we found that, in this remote world of work that we're all in now, where, empowering individuals, communication, being able to do what you need to do in a two-dimensional versus a three-dimensional world is so important. It just adds to the reason why it makes sense to do this. We have seen most digital projects and organizations, they are accelerating, and they have been accelerated because people believe that, again, those services are now critical to their business survival, to their customers. And so what we do has become even more important. More, use of digital services have happened, more incidents on them, and they're more important than ever before. So it just made more sense than ever, is the easiest way to say it.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you, Jonathan. And, Dave and I are especially thankful to have you this week, because we were made aware that you're kind of in the midst of the whirlwind of the PagerDuty Summit this week as we speak. So I hope you can still have lunch. In addition to the Rundeck acquisition, are there any other interesting announcements or particular trends or themes, whether it's by organization or vertical that you can share, or just kind of resounding messages that you hope that whoever is attending will take away from this week?
Yes, we, as a SaaS platform, we're fortunate to have an incredible amount of data from our customers. And one of the things we've seen, and I think you even asked the question, there are more items to mention here, but in kind of as a preview to that, what we've seen in our platform working with our 13,000 customers is a pretty significant rise in use, and that pretty significant rise to the tune of 38% more incidents that organizations, companies are dealing with. And so a big part of what we're announcing today is our product, not only our new version of our platform, but also a new version of a couple of the key products on top of our platform. So this is the going on our second year of Event Intelligence, and what we've really done in the new set of releases for this is address that issue of the combination of new automation controls and Event Intelligence, what we've done with automating and making service dependencies intelligently going out and helping teams understand what services are related to other services. We're seeing in our own data that we can reduce the amount of interruptions that teams will deal with by 67%, almost 2/3. So a rise of 38%, a decrease of 67%. And that's tremendous value to these organizations. Again, they're not only building these services and delivering them, but they own them. So the least a number of interruptions, the more time there is for innovation for these teams. So our new releases of Event Intelligence and our, the way in which we deliver service dependencies to teams, that context to them when they're fixing issues, that's a central part of what we're doing. What we're also announcing as a part of our advanced analytics product is our new recommendation engine. So we see a lot of organizations, again, rushing towards the public cloud, and that requires changing practices and processes and adopting full service ownership. And so what we've built into the PagerDuty platform is a recommendation engine based on machine learning, where we can make recommendations to teams, for example, on their services, which ones are the most problematic, the most noisy, that we should apply intelligence to and intelligent grouping to, so that we can reduce the number of interruptions. And then we show the actual impact if you take action. So it's very clear ROI in that sense for organizations, and again, helping them to shorten time to fix, time to resolve, and triage, which is central to those teams. Lastly, there are a couple of big other announcements as part of the platform in the form of firsts, and a couple of those firsts are with Zoom. They're a customer as well as a partner of PagerDuty. They've experienced tremendous growth, as we all know, as a part of what's been going on the last 4 or 5 months, and we've built in an integration to Zoom into the platform, so that as responder teams get pulled into issues, in a single click, they can not only use Zoom and have a video war room, but also now be able to take action in those war rooms. We have a philosophy of these teams that come together in the moments that matter. Context switching from one product to another is difficult. So our whole purpose, our philosophy is be able to work in that environment. And we've done the same thing with Microsoft Teams. We're one of 10 launch partners with Microsoft Teams for the video capabilities within Microsoft Teams as well. So a couple of really great firsts for us with both of those vendors, and integrations that are now a part of the platform to really help in collaboration and communication in this world where it's never been more important.
Absolutely. And those are really key integrations. And the focus seems to me to be really on people, right? On individuals and teams working collaboratively. So that's great.
Yeah. It's funny. When I take a step back, we talked about the importance of all these services. Behind all of those services, whether they're business services, technical services, microservices that every organization is building and innovating to really for their business is a ton of complexity and a ton of dependencies. And it's so easy to forget that behind all of that complexity and dependencies are people.
Yeah.
And PagerDuty is really about people, and it's about team health and allowing. We always talk about we have a love-hate relationship with our customers. They hate being interrupted, but they love the fact that when PagerDuty is interrupting them, it's for a good purpose. It means it's not just a needless, redundant, or false positive type of interruption, and we really take that to heart, and that's an important part of who we are, and we don't take that for granted. And so it's a real unique place to be, and working with our customers and partners in that way.
As we kind of segue to what the future looks like, you had mentioned Zoom, and I think if anyone who worked for Zoom or partnered with Zoom a year ago could say what the impact on that company literally overnight could be, their heads would probably have exploded. It's just I think we used Zoom for a bachelorette party last year, and now Zoom is becoming a vital part of many organizations. And I'm not to pick on them in particular, but it just kind of gets to the heart as to how rapidly things have changed and how people have really brought their teams together, and that culture that you described to enable this to happen. So with that kind of crystal ball theme in mind, and I know it's hard to predict in such a time of unpredictability, but what do you think, where do we go from here? Are there any kind of larger trends or projections that you could say with definitiveness that would happen, or are there any kind of speculative thoughts that you have on where the future looks?
Well, it's interesting. I think we can all kind of play Nostradamus in a way, given the rapid change that's gone on, and we see a lot of trends within verticals. The impact of those trends in our business that kind of leads one to believe what will happen next. I'm an optimist, and so I always try to take the positive point of view. I know a lot of us say we'll get through this. I truly believe we will, and business will be better. Our lives will be better as a result. I think we won't take for granted many of the little things that maybe we did before, and that's always a good thing. I think from a business and a professional lens, when I look at this, I think there are winners, new winners as a part of this. Those that were already had a path, had a route to what they were doing from a digital sense, clearly, they've taken on the establishment in many ways, and they've done very, very well. You made the mention of Zoom. My 92-year-old parents, knock on wood, they're doing well. They didn't even know what Zoom was, and now they're excited every weekend to say, "Are we ready to Zoom?" So it speaks to the kind of the demographic shift in what so many segments of society are undertaking. Whether it's essential food services, whether it's video conferencing, I think there are some very definite winners. Whether it's home fitness, we're fortunate to have Peloton as one of our customers. And they've taken on the establishment of fitness, and their business has exploded as a part of this. And I take a step back, and the best part of my day, I'm fortunate to have a Peloton bike, is that 30 minutes that I can carve out from all these Zoom calls to go and kind of free my mind a little bit. And I expect the services to be on. And so I do think that the biggest trend I see is either teams and businesses were accelerating towards a full digital approach, or they had plans and they have to make that their number one priority today. So that's the biggest, uber trend I see in everything, and that creates a shakeup in who's doing what. On-prem systems will always be there. People have predicted the downfall of mainframe computers since 1980, and they're still around in many ways in the financial industry. So I don't see on-prem systems going away for many important reasons, but I think the amount of innovation that's going to happen, I don't think it's going to slow down. I think it's just going to increase with mobility, with communications. I see all of that accelerating, and the services behind those. The expectation will continue to rise that services have to be there when you expect them to be there because you depend on it. And the businesses that create and deliver those services depend on it. So I just think that philosophy will continue to change. And maybe that's not the sexiest prediction in the world, but I do believe it will just become not just an expectation, but people will demand it, business will demand it, consumers will demand it.
No, that's great. And, as a kid say, you're keeping it real. So those are great insights, man. Honestly, Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us today. I know you're busy hosting your customers and partners at the PagerDuty Summit, but these are such great insights. Thank you for joining Nicki and I today.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
Thank you so much. Go get your sandwich before it's
okay. Dave, Nicki, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jonathan.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.